What Kalonzo is doing is something you'd call like, there's a saying that if you stand in the middle of the road, you double your chances of being knocked by vehicles. Either way.
Either way.
Traffic from either
Coming
side.
or going.
Yeah. So it's from that premise. Then also look at the position he took during the referendum. Remember the nickname he was given?
Yep.
Watermelon.
The watermelon.
Which is red in the inside and very green on the outside. And remember there were two colors on it. So clearly what he has done, and we've said this before, what he's doing, he has not shown strength of character. Like for instance, you give it to...
So in other words, he's an opportunist.
Yeah. He's an opportunist. Yes, look at, for instance, the people with Raila Odinga or Raila Odinga himself. Yes, he has taken a position and he's moving with that. Uhuru and Ruto have taken a position, they're moving with that. So some of these things, if you stay in the middle, you assume that somehow you get on the traffic that is going down or up, you are increasing your chance of...
But let's also be real. These opportunists will actually end up harvesting whichever way. Like, there's a car that's going to knock him. Whichever way. He could end up with Musalia Mudavadi, he could end up with Raila Odinga, he could end up with Ruto Uhuru. Or alone.
Yeah.
And then at the end, he'll still benefit.
Yeah, let's go back to the arithmetic. Fact, either of these two groups, even the Uhuru-Ruto group, they need one more, perhaps even two. They need to persuade one other or two other ethnic groups or portions thereof to join them, and then they'll be sure. But just being the two of them is dicey. Sure. You need to add it up. If you do the arithmetic, you need to get a little bit of the Luya. That's why Wamwale was important to them. And that's why they have brought in Charity Ngiru. Because they might get Musalia, but this effort will continue. If they sign up today and they have told the public, they will continue seeking for additional groups, and that is what Kalonzo might eventually get. He doesn't want to spoil that chance by going all the way to ODM. Again, watermelon.
He has his chances.
And then Eric, also consider, going back still to Kalonzo, consider the fact, okay, I think when you talk to people around him, when you talk to his people and other political opinion shapers, they feel there's a feeling that he has this sense of entitlement. He's one of the longest serving members of parliament.
Yeah.
He has been a vice president for that like 5 years. So he feels that in that there is a natural trajectory is to move to become the president. But does he have the numbers? In the last election, when he was a candidate, he got about 890 or about 900,000 votes.
He had less than a million votes.
Less than a million votes. Those are not votes that can take you to state house. Starting with, and then also consider again when you look at the assumption that if you've been VP, naturally you have to become president. It doesn't necessarily work like that. Kenya has had so many VPs who never became
only
president.
One VP, only actually two VPs have become president.
Yeah, Moi and Kibaki. And look at Kibaki. Kibaki was VP, Moi is VP for a long time. He was dropped, and then he became a minister for health, and he served very well until 1992 when he went into opposition, and from that position he lost 2 elections before ultimately the math was right and he became president. Look at Saitoti. Saitoti was also a VP for a very long time. He was dropped, and then he was appointed again, and then later on in a new arrangement he became a minister for education and a minister for internal security, and he served well. And were it not that he died, he would possibly have been a major player.
He'd be among the people we're talking about today.
And he didn't move with a sense of entitlement that I'm first among equals. He moved on, and it's not something if you fight so hard or if you give those assumptions that you are entitled to this, it creates a big problem.
You think that's what is that what Kalonzo is doing?
I think that is a problem.
He's pushing that agenda that, you know what, I'm entitled.
Yes. Yeah. If we were to go back to the ethnic arithmetic we were discussing earlier, Kalonzo and his strategists should have realized that the time that Kalonzo will become president, if it came, he would have to stand on the shoulders of the Kikuyu cousins, because there is no great animosity between the Kamba and the Kikuyu. Therefore, if I was advising him then, I would have advised him to invest heavily in a relationship with the Kikuyu bloc, because there is no way he or any other Kamba will become president unless they stand on the Kikuyu bloc, add theirs, and then go fetch the final finishing touches. He did not do that. That's what he should have done. Instead of wasting 830,000 votes, he should have given them those votes up front to Kibaki, and then the Kikuyus might have been better persuaded to come
to see him this way.
Correct.
Let's look at where he is right now. All indications that he could be moving into the Raila axis. If he moves into the Raila axis and he actually becomes Raila's running mate, what are his chances?
Okay, so let's start from the point of the number of votes that he's bringing to that equation. You've seen Raila's, the number of votes he brings in is less than, he doesn't have solid control of Kamba votes.
Yep.
He has just pockets of votes in terms of the, when you look at the kind of influence he has, Gilo has also significant, let's say like Kalonzo would be having, let's say, a third, Gilo has 2/3,
Gilo has a third.
The other third. So that in itself, and whichever way Kalonzo moves, Gilo is likely to do a counter move to the other side that looks more. So if we move there as a running mate, of course that means Raila will have to make a decision in terms of, because the assumption has been that possibly you look, because Ruto is going to be Uhuru's running mate, you have to think of Rift Valley, because Rift Valley is significant.
So he'll want to split Ruto's move.
Yeah, it makes political sense. So if Kalonzo moves in there, and Kalonzo with that sense of entitlement, of course he won't move there to become a minister, or he feels that he should be running mate. So that locks out all the other players in Rift Valley who are also who are eyeing the vice presidency. That complicates the arithmetic for Raila. It doesn't necessarily take him with one. But on the other side, if for instance Kalonzo had agreed with Musalia Mudavadi and they move to Raila Odinga as a block, that can be a game changer.
So that would actually be better for Kalonzo to first strike a deal with Musalia, and then move Kalonzo Musalia to Raila and tell Raila, here we are.
Here we are.
Except you must remember, during the second term, Kibaki's second term, Raila and Kalonzo were in a furious competition for image, who is number 2, who is number 3. The personal traits of these two individuals is such that the chemistry between them never work. It may never work, and both of them may be aware of that. Raila is not going to agree that I am not the supremo. Kalonzo, with his sense of entitlement, there lies the problem, fundamentally at the individual level, and the attitude and character traits of leaders actually does affect outcomes. So it would be a very, very difficult thing to hold together.
But again, also, okay, I would beg to differ with Kira on a small issue of that. In politics, okay, there is that personal chemistry, but sometimes you find that people are very different. They come together. They are brought together by vested interests, and vested interest is to win an election. So you look and calculate and say, okay, fine, where are my interests best served? You team up with your worst enemy and you can move on. You look for instance, somebody like William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta. In 2007, their communities were fighting against each other. That is a fact. Okay, although in 2002 they had been together. Look at Kibaki and Raila Odinga before 2002. They've never been on the same side politically, but they moved together. Of course, after the election, it was a marriage that didn't work for long. But the differences, chemistry, sometimes they may not necessarily be.
They may put aside their personal differences and just look and see. Look, I'm going to be in State House. You're going to be in Karen.
So where do you want to be?
Yeah, this is the best thing for us. Let's look at now the tribal blocking blocks, as you're saying. If we look at Rift Valley, if, like you say, Mwenda Njoka, that Raila Odinga looks at Rift Valley and says, I want to split or just cut a slice of Ruto's votes from Rift Valley, then he picks a Rift Valley running mate. So where would the Rift Valley then go? Because we have two running mates as a community. We have one with Uhuru Kenyatta, we have one with how...
Yeah, okay, let's look at it. Okay, well, one of the dilemmas of Rift Valley, if you go back in history, you see that Rift Valley, okay, despite having had a president for all 24 years, after 2007, actually 1997, that was the last time they had a presidential candidate, when Moi was running for his last time. Since then, in 2002, in 2007, they've not had a candidate. And actually that, I just want to go back a bit, that's the reason why you've seen a lot of pressure on Uhuru, not on Ruto, to run.
To be on the ticket.
To be on the ticket as a candidate. But of course he has also done his maths, and if possibly he knows even if he's on the ticket, what you do is that you help other politicians to become members of parliament, senators and governors, but it won't take him to State House.
Yeah.
So possibly made but you asked about the issue of
having two running mates and what that would mean.
One of the things that is there in Rift Valley right now, Ruto has proved himself a very good campaigner. Like him or dislike him, he's a good campaigner, he's a good politician, and he has been able to knit together a significant portion of Rift Valley. We're talking about possibly around let's say 70% of the votes there. So whichever way, even if let's say most likely if Raila Odinga was to get a candidate from there, we'll be looking at Kipsigis or Nandi. Emre Kosgei, who comes with a significant amount of baggage, which I won't go into details.
So Kosgei is a Nandi.
He is a Nandi.
Right.
Then Kipsigis, you look at Bet or Saleh Kosgei.
Yeah.
Again, they've not been able to establish themselves politically. Which other possible candidates? Of course, Jackson Kibor is not necessarily a major league player.
He's not a big, but he's a very good mobilizer.
He's a mobilizer. He has resources, but he's also he's also aged significantly. So even if he picks, I think
if Raila picked a Rift Valley candidate as running mate, it's not a win for him.
It's not a win for him.
There is another dynamic we must not forget. Under the new constitution, the House becomes even more powerful than previously. So if you are running for president, if you are making those blocks, you must always remember to do the arithmetic on the number of seats that going one way gives you as opposed to going another way. Because even if you become president with your teammate and you try and push some agenda without the necessary numbers in parliament, you're in big trouble. So the biggest benefit to these two groups would be to maximize the number of seats that you get in parliament. So in fact, that's the more reason why the Raila with another Karenjin, Raila would be at tremendous disadvantage because he might pick 2 or 3 seats only. So it is important that whatever grouping you do, you must look not just at the State House and Karen, you must also look at the spread of your seats in Parliament, because even the appointments of cabinet secretaries will have to be approved by Parliament. So you need a large...
You need the numbers to be able to govern.
Absolutely.
Now, you're listening to Talk 360 right here on 98.4 Capital FM. It's about 20 minutes to 5 o'clock. In the studio with me is the managing editor of the Sunday Standard, Mwenda Njoka, and Kirero Wangoge, a public affairs consultant. Thank you very much for all your comments on the Capital FM Kenya Facebook page. Let me read one from Ayuga Alo, who says, Latif, this issue of TNA URP means that the other tribes, that is the Luo, the Luya, the Kisi, the Pokomo, and all, will not have a place in government. Ruto told the Kalenjin elders that URP TNA will share all government slots 50-50.
That is, you tie that to what we have just said about seats. Tie that to what I said about you need another, not just Ruto and Uhuru. You need to go and pick somebody else. And this is the moment that you start going specifically, for example, to the Kisi and persuade them very hard
to come to your side.
Absolutely. And other small groups. You remember the way Obama finally won? You must go and find the votes where nobody is looking.
Now let's look at them. Let's look at who the leading lights are. For example, in the Uhuru Ruto, we have from the coast, we have the Najib Balala. Now we have Danson Mungatana from the coast joining the Uhuru Ruto alliance. We have Ngilu in Eastern, who is already there, trying to edge out Kalonzo Musyoka's eventual return, if possible. Eugene Omalwa, maybe not in Western, and other people in Western. Who is in Northeastern Province for? We have Duale for Ruto, Northeastern Province, and the rest.
But before you go there, let's just go back to the comments that you heard from that listener.
Yes.
You know, the issue of 50%, 50-50, is not necessarily that, for instance, if Uhuru is having 50% of the seats, he's going to have all Kikuyus and Merus.
It's 50 TNA.
It's 50 TNA. Not necessarily even TNA. It's the people he has aligned himself within that arrangement.
Okay, it's actually TNA plus Ngilu plus Balala plus...
So plus it's a lie. Fundamentally,